Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Apollo's Odyssey. Tonight, I am still at home doing my show and not the studio. Basically, there were some things that happened with the studio. I have to actually switch it to another unit in the same building. So it's gonna be, but we should be done with switching everything over this weekend, and then I'll be able to be back in the new studio probably next week. And I know tonight I said I would have Laura Eisenhower on, but actually, she's not going to be on until next Tuesday because I wanted to have her in the new studio. That was kind of the reason for me bringing her on again for like the second or third time. So I'm going to have her in the new studio, and I'm really excited about that. So that should be next Tuesday. That's what we have planned, and hopefully the new studio is all set up and ready to go by that time. So tonight's topic instead, I figured I'd just discuss disclosure in the entertainment industry because I think it's an interesting topic. I think there's a lot going on with that in regards to, obviously there's disclosure has been a big topic the past year, but you know, obviously Hollywood is always kind of propagandizing certain things. So it's interesting to look at the way that ETs are depicted in the entertainment industry and how they're depicted. So I want to kind of discuss some different films, and if anyone has any comments, any shows they would like me to discuss or movies, please chime in. Also, I have Doc Skinner here. I'm about to bring him on, but oh, someone just said, "Where you at?" I'm actually at home this time, but I'll be at my studio next time. But yeah, so Doc Skinner has been a part of the entertainment industry for many years, like myself. So I'm going to bring him on and let him kind of have a conversation with me about how he feels about ETs and the way they are depicted in the entertainment industry. And before I keep going, I just want to say I have one spear left on my Shaman Spear site. So if you want to help me fund all my operations, I have some amazing things that I need to get edited and some really cool projects that I'm working on right now. So any of my spirit sales go straight into funding this show. So if you would like to help me with any of my operations, I have one Shaman Spear left and there's more in the works. So let's get Doc on here. Hey Doc, how's it going?
Going well. How are you?
I'm good. I've been building this new studio. I've been working on it, but we had to like switch it over, so I'm not there tonight. But I'll be there next week. We actually had to switch it to another unit in the same building. It's a long story, but should work
Just,
out better. So
just growing pains.
yeah, definitely having a lot of those starting a show.
Yeah. So you're covering a topic tonight that I just love because I've been in the entertainment industry for about 40 years and I've seen a lot. I stayed in it because I was able to see what was going on behind the curtains. But the whole out of the shadows movement hadn't really started yet. The Me Too movement hadn't started yet. This was back in the 90s. I was just watching a documentary last night on Ron Perlman, the guy that created Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, and I associated very slightly for a moment with him while I was living in Orlando, working at Disney and stuff. And it's a crazy world. It's a crazy world, and there's a lot of esotericness, or however you want to say it, about the business itself. A lot of things are hidden in plain sight. And one of the biggest things is, of course, the whole alien UFO, genre. As far back as movies have been made, actually, one of the very first films was Man on the Moon, where we had a spacecraft, flying, and it hit the face of the man on the moon and hits him in the eye. And then you see the people that are landing there and they're on this strange planet. So even way then that, silent films. I mean, even way back then, someone was trying to tell us something. And through media, publications, film, any kind of entertainment, We have been told truth. We have had disclosure over the years, and it's just been very, very soft and minute and subliminal.
Very soft,
Especially,
not
yes,
not
very
hard.
soft. And there was probably maybe a justified reason in doing it that way because of the incident that happened with Orson Welles with the War of the Worlds. People were committing suicide, shooting at the sky, freaking out
That's the
because,
one I want to discuss today. I have
okay,
that pulled
yeah,
up here, definitely. So,
let's do it.
I'm thinking like, first I want to say I want to get into like some different films and maybe get your thoughts on them. We can like kind of bounce ideas off each other. But first I want to go into, like you were saying, the whole idea of propaganda in Hollywood and the entertainment industry. It's interesting the way that ETs have been depicted over the years. And, I haven't seen these older ones that you were talking about. I definitely need to look into that, the silent films with ETs and Man on the Moon. I haven't seen that one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But, it's interesting because it's always like from what I've noticed, it always seemed that like aliens were always depicted as like really scary, like these really scary creatures that come from other planets and then they
Right.
destroy everything. It's almost always they're depicted as like, really scary, like they're coming in to destroy all of us, which I think is interesting. And that's a very propagandized idea of it, because like what would all ETs really be that way? I mean, wouldn't some ETs be benevolent? Why don't we have Hollywood movies of ETs that come here and help the human race? I think that would be really incredible. And the other aspect is I've noticed that in recent years, in the past 2 decades, now they're starting to slip, or mostly the past decade, now that it seems they're starting to slip in these like friendly ETs into children's movies. So, like
Mm-hmm.
Lilo and Stitch, or, Baby Yoda and Star Wars are always these like cute little aliens that are like friends. And so I think that's interesting because to me, that seems like they're trying to help ramp up disclosure. So it's like, maybe they don't think the adults right now would be ready for it, but, why not get the children early, start like getting them kind of used to the idea.
Indoctrinate them, yes. And you kind of you had the answer in your question. And in my mind, what I think is that it's the human race itself. We have this phobia, this genetic disorder where we have fear of the unknown. If we don't understand something, we fear it. And we've seen that through our culture just in the past 30 years with different types of movements and stuff of things with genders and all this. People were afraid of it. Now it's acceptable. Possibly if these guys like Project or MJ12 and the pyramid people, all of them, if they're as smart as they say they are, you would think that they understood the psychology of society and humanity, and knew that this day would eventually come, but it's going to take decades, if not 100 years, to get the society accustomed to the idea. And it all started off with what humans do. We fear. They're out to get us, we've done that with each other in cultures and, exploring different parts of the world, finding America, who are these Indians? That's who we are. And it's unfortunate, but it's just the facts. And if these people understood it, the ones that are masterminding these very long game plans, okay.
Generational.
Yeah, and a lot of these Gen Xers are like, well, they can't, be planning it this long, because they think of life as everything is instant gratification. It's an app, it's a push button. But these guys have been doing it and for so long that they know that this plan is going to outlive them and their grandkids, because they're playing the long game.
What's interesting about that is like, what's the incentive for that? What's the incentive of that? It's like, obviously, there's probably some ETs that are controlling these people, or they're, somehow
Right.
related with them, because, why would someone do something that is a multi-generational plan to like kind of screw up the future of humanity? That just doesn't make sense. That's not something a normal human would want to do. So I
Right.
always found that very interesting.
Well, it is said that there are many species that live amongst us. You got the lizard people and all that, and they're the ones that run the world. And we've heard all of that hoopla, but um, I think a lot of them are human beings, but they are given power and authority over others, and that's a power trip. And people get off on that like they do on drugs and sex and all kinds of other addictions out there. It's overpowering somebody and literally taking their energy. And I'm sure you understand about that. Like energy vampires, people that just they and then you're just like whimpering because they're just draining you. Those people get off on this kind of thing, and it's not all about money. In land, they got all that. It's power and control of the narrative.
I heard it's also they get offers to go off planet. That's also something that has been mentioned a lot. It's like, okay, if you do this, if you implement this, then you can get off this prison planet, go to another planet closer to the galactic center that's like way better than Earth.
Right. Promises of eternal whatever, right? Well, a lot of them, I'm sure, probably find out that's not always the case. They're just being taken advantage of because of their evilness and their greed. Someone just as bad as them, maybe these lizard people, whoever, are just as bad and take advantage of that and use them as minions. So, there is a force. There's a good and there's an evil, and it's spiritual. It's multidimensional. It's gospel, however you want to see it. It's all intertwined, and that's another thing with movies and disclosures is they're trying to do this whole one world order and one religion and all this. It's really crazy because it is the ultimate mind bender, and they are the experts at doing it because they've been doing it for millennia, all the way back to the Aztecs. The Aztecs, when the populations got too big and a little bit out of control, what did they do? The soothsayers, the guys in the black robes that would pray to the moons and all that, they knew about the Earth's rotation and full moons and what's the word I'm looking for? When the sun goes away.
Eclipse.
Jesus. Yeah. Thank you. Couldn't think of the simple word. They knew when eclipses were coming so that they could prepare in advance. Okay. They were playing the long game, just like these people are with entertainment. And, when the crowds were getting out of control, they were like, look, y'all need to do what we say, or the gods are going to be pissed and you'll regret it. And they would, like society, rebel. No, we don't like being told what to do. And then boom, he would get up on top of the pyramid and say, if we don't sacrifice some bodies now, the sun god's going to be mad. And then the eclipse would happen. Everybody would freak out. Oh my God, it's for real. So it's all about control. And now instead of doing, mass sacrifices on pyramids like they used to in the Aztecs, is they use media to manipulate and control us. And by controlling the narrative and bleeding out slowly a soft disclosure of the information. And some people will think, oh no, but it's all fiction, it's all make-believe. Well, let me tell you this. You go to any writing class, the first day of class. Have you been to writing class?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
What's the first thing a teacher will tell you in a writing class? How to write?
I guess tell the story like you're speaking it. Don't I don't know. I've been told a lot of different things in writing classes. So usually
the answer is the teacher will say, all right, you want to know the first lesson of writing? Write what you know.
Mm.
Okay. And these people that are writers, some are downloaded the information like a George Lucas situation, or some are inspired by the powers that be. If you've seen the movie Hail Caesar with George Clooney, it's about Hollywood, I think in the 40s and 50s. And it talks just about that, how they use Hollywood to manipulate the masses. And and we've talked about this, you and me, about what Hollywood means. It's the Hollywood tree. branch, and Wiccans and witches would use it. It meant cast a spell. And so
The
Hollywood,
druids, it was their preferred sort of material for making
right,
wines.
right.
And druids
So
started Hollywood. Because
exactly.
druids were the ones before they were actually using stones and stuff to sort of do these mind control type programs in ancient times. And this is like an advanced version. Basically, that's what Hollywood has been, is a new version of their older like mind control, like, or well, it was before it was spells. Now they're like mind control programs that can be directed to masses, the masses. But not all druids were bad, just
no. I'm just saying where the term comes from. And so casting a spell, and who was it that says, if you can control the media, you can control the world? I forgot where I heard that from, but it's something to that effect. And it really is true, because
I think that was a Rothschild quote, right?
Yeah.
Or Rockefeller, one and two.
I think it probably was Rockefeller because of the newspapers and everything.
Yeah.
Whoever owns the newspapers, controls the.
Oh yeah, it was newspapers.
Something like that. Yeah, I think that's what it was. So so Rockefeller and Rothschilds, they knew all this. They knew all this, and they still do, and they've used it to manipulate things. Look at the guy that owned Playboy. He just died.
Why can't I think of his name right now?
All right, him, for example. Okay, he had a movie studio, and that movie studio was like a private movie studio that was also run by the CIA. And myth and legend lore says that is the studio, supposedly, where Hugh Hefner. Thank you. Yes, where they supposedly filmed the moon landing.
Oh, now, wow, really? That was his?
That was in that studio. He was asked to, have everybody leave, and he went in, and there's actually a movie depicting the story of that situation.
I've seen that.
About these two CIA guys, and they have to figure out how to make this movie by themselves with like 4 or 5 people. And one of them actually is one of the astronauts too. I mean, it's a great movie.
What I think is interesting about that is a lot of people say that we never actually went to the moon. That proves that we never actually went to the moon. But to me, what that proves to me is that, I think there's actually a lot on the moon, all the secret space program, stuff like different bases and obelisks and things like that may be on the moon. And that's why they couldn't show the surface.
I believe we were told not to come back. I believe we went. Whether or not it was that first moon landing we saw, whether it was or not. Now, some people will. I'm just saying that's what's being said. All right. And supposedly that film was to just get a jump on the Russians so that they didn't get up to the moon first. And then they went after that. That's what I hear. I have no way of proving it. It's just legend lore, you might say. So things like that. For example, okay, I actually have in front of me the entire list of feature films and TV shows with extraterrestrials and aliens on Wikipedia. I never use Wikipedia, but it came up and it had a pretty decent good list. I wish you would tell me how many was actually on this list, because it goes on and on and on forever. But there are tens of thousands of movies and TV shows out there dealing with aliens, and some of them have that heartfelt story. Spielberg came along and got rid of the Uchi Uchi alien from Aliens, that movie, to E.T. And then you had.
I want to talk about that one. Can we take a second and talk about that one?
Absolutely.
Okay, this is the whole reason why I made this episode today, because I was discussing this movie with someone the other day, and I'm like, what is up with E.T.? I mean, why would he make the alien look like that? I do not understand this. He literally, to me, as a kid, and let me just share this on the screen here. To me, he always looked like a sausage. Do you think he looks like a sausage? He literally looks like a giant sausage. And as a kid, I was always so weirded out. It's like he has these sausage fingers and he looks like a giant sausage. And like, I'm sure, I mean, I've seen a lot of things of like what aliens, different alien races look like, and none of them look like this. Like, who came up with the idea? Let's make this alien that looks like a giant sausage
with a glowing finger and extension neck.
Like, I don't get it. Like, he looks like a sausage to me. I can't, like, he could have been any kind of alien. They're like, let's make a sausage creature, and this is our alien.
He looks like an ill proportioned, oversized tapeworm. So that's what I think.
Someone's like, don't be dissing ET, little lady. Oh, I just want to take a second and say thanks so much, City L, for the super sticker. That was a pretty decent donation. I haven't had that one that big yet.
Wow.
And if anyone wants to try to beat that record, be my guest.
All right. Operators are standing by.
Yeah. But anyway, back to the topic.
Yes.
ET, giant sausage. Why?
Or worm. Yeah, earthworm of some sort. I don't know because I mean, you know, if you're gonna go out and do the whole alien thing, why necessarily did they always? Well, not they didn't always, but the big ones, they always had 2 legs and arms and a head. You know, I think the closest, in my opinion, alien movie, if it was going to be a scary alien, was the movie with and all the names have just slipped me. The Thing, where they're in Antarctica and they find the Thing.
Wait. Okay.
With Kurt Russell.
That's where they go under the ice, right?
Well, they go into the ice and they find something, and then it's this alien, and it keeps taking over the people and making them all different weird shapes and stuff, like a spider with a human head and a dog with a human head. There's a lot of human heads on different things.
I'm thinking of Predator, I think. Isn't it Aliens versus Predators, one of those movies?
Yes, yeah. Yes, okay. that was
that's the one where they have the things that come out of their chest. They're like, bleh.
Yeah.
Sigourney, what's up with that one?
Sigourney Weaver made that one
traumatizing.
Yeah,
that's another traumatizing one. And then it was sorry.
But you know what was really cool about that though? It wasn't CGI. It was real physical. I mean, it was a setup.
What did they use?
Well, they had I forgot the gentleman's name. Amazing actor, Shakespearean actor, and all that. But he falls on the table. Next shot you see his whole body on the table, but technically from like his mid chest down is below the table, and then it's a fake body. And right in front of him, I mean, he's kind of like this on his knees, and there's a puppeteer in front of him that goes right up through the chest cavity of the puppet, and it was brilliant.
You know, when I was in grade school, I think that movie came out when I was in like grade school, and there was like a really funny thing me and all my friends used to do where we would do this thing where I can't do it right now because I don't have the right shirt on, but if you have like a big sweatshirt
and you put both hands in the sleeves and you do this.
Yeah. No, you take one hand out and you put it like under your shirt, and then you just grab the sleeve with the other hand, you go like this and then make it like come out your shirt.
We never did that. We did the stupid thing where it looked like both your hands were in your sleeves, but it was just one, and your other hand's here, and you're just doing anyway. High school.
No, we did it where it was like you take one arm out of one of the sleeves, and then you hold it with the other hand, so it looks like both your arms are in there, and then you make it come out your chest.
Right. All right. Yeah. So that was called practical effects, not CGI, but practical effects, and those were some of the best movies. But there was many others. I mean, you had one that we can say has been a huge influence on many, especially myself. That is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I think that changed a lot of people's lives, just like the book Communion by Whitley Strieber did when people saw that cover and they saw the gray.
Whoa, we got we got the record beat. Thanks, Sinister.
Sinister. Oh. Beat that one out. Anybody want to challenge it? That's awesome.
Wow.
I'm waiting for my day to get one of those. That's pretty cool. So, but yes, there's lots and lots of. I mean, look at TV shows. You had Mork and Mindy. Now, I just did an episode on Third Phase of Moon the other night where we did a story on a UFO sighting in Canada in 1796. It was in the late 1700s, over 150 years, ago, way before the term UFO happened. But they were seen as eggs with a portal and a being inside, and there was a fleet of them flying or sailing across the sky, and they had drawings of it. And I looked at that and I thought, I wonder if the writers of Mork and Mindy got the idea of Mork coming to Earth in an egg came from that UFO report that was, hidden in the dust on the shelves that most people don't even know about. So there's that. Then you had, you've got the TV series V that came out in the 80s. Where the lizard people came, but they looked like humans, and then we ripped their skin off, and it was aliens underneath. And you have Sir Arthur C. Clarke's movie, something children, sleepless children. Crap! I just had it. I'm having issues today with words. Childhood Lost. That's the name of it. It was a sci-fi. It was a sci-fi cable TV special. It was like 3 episodes. It was written by Arthur C. Clarke. And I don't want to give it away for anybody that hasn't seen it. But I feel that could be a situation that could still happen one day in the future. Let's see. I got this cheat list. I don't know why I'm not using it. Even in Marvel Comics and DC Comics, there's aliens. It's everywhere we look.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, Alf. We had Alf.
Someone mentioned that earlier. Someone said Alf is better looking than E.T.
Oh, so he could comb his hair. He was like an alien Bigfoot. And Bigfoot has been said by Major Ed Dames, who was Ingo Swann's protege in the top secret art remote viewing project when it was like there was only 6 people that knew about it, right, in the world. And when I got to meet with him in Vegas after several drinks that late that night at the hotel lobby, I asked him, I said, what's the most favorite thing you've ever remote viewed? He goes, really? I was like, yeah. He goes, Bigfoot. I'm like, really? Why?
They're interdimensional, right?
Well, yeah, he said that. And he said that they are actually from another planet that is an ice planet, and they fly spacecraft.
What?
Think about that now, okay? Now, think about the Baltic Sea UFO that's underwater still. It's like made of stone, but it's in the shape of a Millennium Falcon down to the grid lines. Then you have the the moon, Iapetus, I think, or something. And it's planet. It's a little tiny planet rock thing, right? But it's perfectly round, and it has this mountain ridge that goes all the way around the equator. And then it has this big flat crater hole on the side looking just like the Death Star. Okay?
Whoa.
And how is it that George got these concepts and ideas, and now we're finding out there's real stuff out there like that? So, that's why I've always stayed in entertainment. I've tried the cubicle jobs. I've tried the delivery driver jobs, working at clubs, all this stuff. But, entertainment, one, I love doing it because it puts smiles on people's faces or inspires them or educates them. But 2, I'm kind of like that man, like the powerful Oz behind the curtain. I know what's going on. I can see the goose eggs that are left in movies where they're hiding things, like Marvel is really famous for.
So have you noticed in a lot of these movies, and let me pull this up here actually, but it's like every time they come through a dimension, like these aliens come through like interdimensionally, it's always a bunch of these hexagons like together, and it's like I'm trying to think of find an example right now. It's like they come through these like little hexagons in the sky.
Oh, are you talking like in the movie Stargate where the rings come down and they transport through those? Something similar to that. There's another one, Stargate.
Okay.
I mean,
I
Dean
don't know
Devlin.
if that's what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
I've noticed it in several movies lately. I can't think of the names of the movies I'm talking about.
You'll continue seeing symbols now that you are, you or anybody else out there that is becoming aware of this. Symbols are very, very important in film and TV, any kind of media, music awards. I mean, look at the Grammys, look at the Oscars, nothing but pyramids and stars, all the time, or other symbols, that have meaning to them. It catches our subconscious. We may not recognize it. We may not see something that's spray painted on the back of a wall during a scene in a movie, but our subconscious does. And these people know that. And so, like I said, directors and writers, not all of them, but the ones that are in the know, the ones that are in the groups we're not allowed in, they talk about this like Bohemian Grove. They discuss what they're going to do for that year. All the, the oil tycoons, security, the military, fashion people, movie people, news people, anchors, there are people in all those departments that are bought off, not all of them, but ones that are in the know. And so they implement these in with writers and directors to hide these goose eggs, or not goose eggs. Goose eggs. Little surprise, or Easter eggs. Sorry, I don't know what's thinking goose. Easter eggs with these clues for people that are waking up, that are seeing it and realizing, hey, this may be a great movie, great storyline, great characters, but there's a message in here. They're trying to get out because writers and directors, producers, sometimes you can't say, as people in Hollywood know, you can't say what you want to say all the time because you're worried about you losing your job or your career. So you keep things quiet. But
Here's I just want to say right here is this was the movie Chicken Little.
Chicken Little.
This was actually a kids movie where
it was great.
You know what I'm talking about, right? These hexagons. So
I
like right
see
here
what
it's like
you're
the
saying.
hexagons turn into ships and come down.
I see what
And
you're
then
saying.
here's one of him standing over it.
Right.
And, I'm trying to think of the other movies that I've seen it in. It's like the sky will just turn into all these little hexagons, and then something will come through.
Or you'll see something like on a spacecraft in space where they have a atmosphere, but something gets too close to the bubble and it'll tap, and you'll see and it's hexagons, little honeycomb shapes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that as well as checker patterns, checker pattern floors, outfits, which you'll see a lot of the music awards and stuff. It's showing the transition between one dimension and the other. That's the Masons use it in their ceremonies, saying that you're crossing over to the other side and that kind of thing. And so you'll see those in a lot of psycho films, suspense films, or like The Matrix. Matrix was really huge on getting stuff out there. Now, a lot of people, there's I'm going to call it a rumor. We're just going to say that. We're just saying it's a rumor that the Wachowski brothers, Wachowski sisters, were playing on the dark web, or somebody they knew was playing on the dark web, and they came across a DARPA document called The Matrix, talking about this world. And they got a hold of the notes or part of it and ran with it. Like I said, we're saying this is rumors. And next thing you know, The Matrix is born. And that became a trigger for a lot of society. People in society, they were like, oh my God. So what's one of the most famous line from The Matrix? It's about the pill. People use that reference. You ready to take the red pill? It means being woken up in a world that we are in. We are in a prison planet. I could be going, there's so many directions you could go about, go with that, but we truly are. And I believe that is why so many people in society have the urge to get the hell off this rock. you know?
I've
And
actually been discussing this with people a lot lately, and from like a lot of research I've been doing, it seems that our planet is so far from the galactic center that actually our planet is mostly just used for as like a zoological place or like a botanical garden, and that's mostly it. And apparently they always like threw all the prisoners and all the sort of people that were screwing up on the other planets here. So
mhm.
it almost makes me wonder with that whole Scientology idea of these souls being like trapped here. It almost makes me wonder when I think about, I don't know, I've been hearing all these different discussions about these things lately, and I'm just analyzing it all, and I think it's definitely curious. Like why would all of us be on this planet that's so far from the galactic center when there's so many other places that are apparently very free planets? It's like, why are we all here then? It
Well,
makes me sad
sometimes,
when I think about it,
well, yeah,
actually.
it kind of makes me think that maybe, our planet's the one on the short bus,
Yeah, that's what
and they're like, let them sit over there in the corner over there. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. They'll just play with each other, you
it's
know.
messed up.
And everybody else is doing Galactic Federation stuff and what's it called? Trading and merchandising with each other. Who knows? And we're kind of sitting on the sideline. I mean, we're seeing this. We're seeing the game, but I don't feel we're in it.
I feel
And
we're like mining gold for them, probably a lot of gold that's
well,
probably being sent off planet still.
that goes into the movie Stargate, written by Dean Devlin. Most people don't know about that. He wrote the movie Stargate, the TV series Stargate SG-1, and Universe, and all that. And I wrote a bunch of other great stuff. I did other great movies too. But I actually had him on a friend's radio show, and I asked my friend to ask him, about Write What You Know. And he responded, he was like, yeah, but after we had that battle on whatever the name of the planet was, I thought, hey, I could turn this into a movie. So, I mean, it's out there. And the fact that, just a writer could put something in a film or TV show, and we find out later it's legit. Perfect example. Oh, this was a great segue. Good segue, Doc. Star Trek. Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, was a comic book artist. But he had a friend that he grew up with who ended up being like a Men in Black, worked for it wasn't the DOD then, it was called something else, DOA or something, but I was dead on arrival. That wasn't it. But anyway, he and Gene Roddenberry would go to the cabin like once a year, drink cognac, smoke cigars, I guess, and fish. And his buddy was telling him all this stuff like Roswell's crash and Velcro and microchips and all this stuff. And Gene was like, the world needs to know. And his buddy was like, not if you want to wake up tomorrow. You can never mention this stuff. Well, Gene was a little smart.
Fiction.
Exactly. Just title it fiction. It's like a scapegoat. Title it fiction and you can get away with it. And look where we are. A lot of the technology that we saw in the old Star Trek episodes, we have today. Mm-hmm. We even have a minivan called the Astrostar, which was shaped over the shuttle craft from Star Trek. Their commercials were even Star Trek. I mean, it's crazy.
There's a show I want to mention. This is actually a cartoon. Have you ever seen American Dad? The cartoon. Okay,
I am not that old.
I watch this show all the time.
Religious. I love them.
Yeah,
I love it.
And so I watch it all the time. And one day I realized, like, I've never actually sat here and thought before about why the dad in the family, obviously he's a CIA agent, and it's just supposed to be, it's a show for anyone who hasn't seen it. It's like a cartoon, like an adult cartoon about a CIA like a family, and the dad is a CIA agent, and then they have this like random alien that just lives in their household, and he's not really allowed to go outside, and he just hangs out with them, and he's just this funny like kind of like trans whatever alien. And like
Yeah.
one day I sat there and I'm like watching, I was like, in a hotel room sitting there watching, because every time I go in hotel rooms, I just throw on Comedy Central or Ancient Aliens. And like, I'm like thinking, I'm like, I never even thought before, like, why do they just have this alien in the CIA agent's family? Like, you never even think about it. I'm just sitting there, I'm like, this is crazy. This is actually really insane.
But when you think about it, Seth MacFarlane, amazing talent, totally. Don't know him as a person. He might have his dark sides. I don't know. But what he does on TV, I enjoy. I've enjoyed for years. And he is one of those people that is all about soft disclosure. Unfortunately, like The Simpsons, they've done some predictions of things as well that have later come to pass. For example, the gentleman from Fast and the Furious that was killed in a car crash, his name was Brian. And like a week before or so, they did an episode where Brian was killed for the very first time on the show by a car. So, I think people like Seth MacFarlane and the guys that do The Simpsons, especially the guys in The Simpsons, they are actually members of certain organizations, and I will leave it at that.
Definitely.
And they totally promote it in their cartoons. That is another one. I mean, that's got aliens in there too. The two the octopus guys and the UFO. I mean, that's in The Simpsons as well. And then a Family Guy, of course, you have not Marvin. What the hell is his name? The alien guy.
Oh, Roger. That's an American
Roger.
guy.
Thank you. Who's like a schizophrenic who has all these personalities, but there's all these little clues where they talk about things that are real, but it's fiction. It's a cartoon. It's make believe.
It's like you're sitting there watching it, and you don't even really think about it.
Yeah,
It's like one day it dawned on me. I'm like, this is a show about a CIA agent and his family, and their family is just like hosting an alien.
Right. Well, there is an episode that explains how Roger and the dad came to be, and where he had to hide him and everything.
Yeah, and
there is a backflash episode.
The Roswell crash.
Right.
Yeah.
So all that's there, and then here's another one for all you newbies out there: Rick and Morty.
Oh, I love Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty is like hard disclosure in your face, but fiction.
And it shows the whole idea of like multiple dimension or realities,
time travel,
simultaneously.
cloning.
I mean, it's so great.
All the science that everybody's talking about that used to be will never happen. It just won't happen. And now we're seeing it. You have here's cloning. Okay, I know we're talking alien stuff, but cloning to me, they're like aliens. They're not me. The movie Get Out, about the white people that bring in the black son-in-law, and then they end up making him like a slave.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh my God, it's a mind bender. But it involves cloning. And then there's another movie that the same Ken Peele, one of those guys is the director. He's just amazing. The reason why he got a standing ovation for Get Out, and for the other one, which I have not seen, but it has a woman holding a pair of scissors on the cover. But it all talks about what's really going on in Hollywood. And they're telling us everything we need to know. But so many people are bamboozled into, oh, it's just make believe. It's just something just to check my brain out for a little bit. Now you're being programmed. I mean, think about it. Television. You're telling a vision. All right. And what do shows do? They broadcast. They're casting a broad, yes. So in there, that words alone, they're so powerful and subliminal, and we use them all the time, and we don't realize truly what it is we say. Just like people that sing all these crap ass songs that come out these days, and the lyrics are just trash. but
And,
it's
and
got
it's like you're chanting it and it gets stuck in your head, and then it's all in the wrong frequency. It's not in 432 Hz frequency, like concert A tuning. It's all in a disharmonic frequency. And
yeah.
you're chanting it over and over in your head. And then also like with the riots that were happening over like around this time last year, everyone's chanting I can't breathe, and they're all wearing masks, and there's a respiratory thing going around. It's like, what are you
here's something
doing?
that here's something that a lot of people don't catch. Okay. And I hope by God I'm not the first person to mention this. But when we as a society go out to stand up for what we believe in, all that, when we start following chants, no matter what it is, we're allowing ourselves to be embellished in the brainwashing. You know, it may be something you believe in, but it gets us into chanting. And where does chanting come from? You know, getting yourself to a higher place and changing your mind.
Shamanic.
And record labels. Okay. And I'm out of the record music industry, so I can say this stuff now. But major record labels have temples at their facilities.
I've been to one before.
Okay, so you
I
know.
went to one in Hollywood. It was like over in Beverly Hills, and it was actually a Masonic lodge. Like it had the lodge thing at the top, but it had recording studios in the whole building. It was like a Masonic lodge recording studio, and they said the top floor. All they told me was that the top floor was very interesting, and that's where like Lady Gaga and a lot of major artists would go to. And I didn't get to go in that floor, but the whole inside of the building was just covered with platinum records all over all the walls.
And this is why. Okay. I'm sure you've heard how rock and roll is the devil's music, right? Backmasking, everything's backwards, okay? Because it's true, it was done. And once, you know, backmasking got a really bad rep in the courts and everything, they kind of had to pull away from it. No subliminal messages were allowed, blah, 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 blah. And by this time, Hollywood and the record labels, are mostly taken over by the dark one. And so most of the major and some independent labels will have a temple room. And this room is where, first of all, they'll be in the studio, they'll record the album, right? It's done. It's beautiful. It's awesome. They take that master track and they put it on the temple or on the, whatever the flat bed thing is. Altar. Thank you. And they do their thing. They invoke the spirits and demons or whatever to enter this master track. Okay. And you have to think demons and ghosts and spirits, they're on frequencies, right? Well, frequencies are used in music. So they're embedded into that master track. Now, what do they do with the master track? They duplicate it. Then it goes out to the masses. It goes out onto the radio. Everybody hears it. They hear that badass beat. Oh yeah, I want to shake my ass. And I'm sitting here, lip syncing or singing these lyrics, but I'm not putting it together to find out what the content of what I'm singing is. When I quit DJing after 28 years, because women were coming up going, can you play this song? I'm like, do you realize what is being said in this song? It's demeaning to you. I can see that. But it's that beat. It's a hypnotic beat because, through spiritual stuff that, tones and notes can do amazing things, especially with the science of not psionics, the sound. Cymatics. Psionics is a night vision camera. That's right. So yeah, it's very, very powerful. And the powers that be that run the entertainment industry, they know this inside and out because they wrote the book and they've used it, and it's just gotten more advanced, more technologically cooler or prettier or whatever, more addictive or attractive to other people. It just keeps growing and growing. That's why you hear so many musicians and bands that do songs. For example, Pink Floyd, Welcome to the Machine. It's about their manager saying, welcome to the machine. This is how it's going to go. You're going to be on the gravy train and because you're going through a machine. And when it's all done with you or you're done, it spits you out. So it's just massive. It's all throughout entertainment, all throughout media and books and magazines, podcasts, and the people that help facilitate all this are doing it because they think they're going to get something really awesome out of it. And some may for a while, but then something, they got to pay the price one way or the other. Now, I feel like I've diverted a little bit. Let's get back to
it's a little diverted, but it does
Right.
relate to it because it's like, okay, so the way that we're talking about how Hollywood has programmed us to see ETs,
Right.
and so that's the backstory and how all the programming works in Hollywood. In case people out there didn't know this before, obviously it's like Hollywood is like a propaganda. It's like the propaganda center of the world. It's like this is how they take people's consciousnesses and manipulate them. So, it's like so with that understanding, now look at the way that aliens are being shown in Hollywood. And, earlier we mentioned like what it used to be, where it used to always be these scary aliens. And now it's more like these little kids, all the little kids movies are about these cute little alien friends. So where do you think it's going with that? I mean, me personally, what I would love to see would be a Hollywood movie of ETs coming down, benevolent ETs that come down to Earth and help, maybe give humans like some amazing technology or like some new kinds of like plants to grow or something like that. I think that would be very interesting.
That is the movie I mentioned earlier by Arthur C. Clarke. Then you need to see, called Childhood Lost. It was like I said, it was a sci-fi cable television channel premiere. It was like three long episodes, 2 hours each, and it is what you're saying. And I think that's why it appealed to so many. But of course, like so many movies, there's a point in the film where you're like, oh shit, and then it takes you in a whole nother direction. And you're like, oh my God, this is how it could be played out. And that's all I can say without giving anything away.
That are interesting that kind of, it's like they don't have aliens in them, but the ones where it's like about being in outer space and going to different planets that are like, really important, almost alluding to the secret space program, they never have other aliens. Like it's always like the aliens are humans from other planets, like Dune. Dune's a great example of that. It's like all the different races that you meet. And I mean, I don't think the main movie didn't show as many races from other planets, but as you like read the series, all the other books, it's never like, it's never really about alien creatures. I mean, I guess there's the sandworms, obviously, but it's always about like these humans that are from different planets. And I think that kind of gets in the idea of like, us being seeded by different ET races. Like one of the races from one of the planets, what in Dune, they were all redheads, so that just kind of goes to show it's like, okay, instead of just having aliens that like look different,
redheads,
like humans, but like they have like a different kind of looking human on the different planets. So yes. I thought that was interesting about Dune. And Star Wars is kind of like that too, but they have some aliens too thrown in there, but it's mostly humans.
There was actually a one of big name researchers. I'm sure you probably know who I'm talking. Anyway, a Stephen Greer type character in our community. I just can't get the name on it, but they made mention that the movie Jupiter Ascending was probably the closest to reality of the Galactic Federation that there is. And
I actually love that movie. I don't really remember it super well, but I remember I loved it.
Well, this is why, because the movie was kind of made hush hush. Not everybody knew about it. Not the people that ended up finding out about it. And when it came out, they squashed it. They didn't allow any promotion or anything. So it was like in the theater for like a week or two. It was like nothing.
Interesting.
Because they didn't want the public to see that, because that director was trying to get some, his message out, his knowledge through quote unquote fiction. And, I'm the same way. When I write stuff, I want to throw in historical facts that I'm aware of that most people aren't because of misrepresentation of history, and incorporate that into, you know, my projects. It's my way of leaving little Easter eggs, because you don't want to just, if you just told everybody everything and said, this is absolutely all fact and this is how it is, everybody would pop. Heads would pop. People would not know how to wrap their head around it. And you thought you experienced cognitive dissonance this past year? Holy crap. Oh my God.
You know, this is something I want to bring up with that, though. You know, people always talk about, okay, like Hollywood, you know, they say like, oh, we need to have soft disclosure because people will freak out. Like, you know, and people always use the example of H.G. Wells or Orson Welles' War of the Worlds broadcast when it was first broadcast on the radio before there was really TV. Before the films came out, and people tuned in and heard it in the middle of the broadcast, and they thought it was really happening, and they started jumping off buildings and killing themselves.
Right.
And I think that was almost like a test to see how the public would react if disclosure happened.
Right.
But then it's like, so people always use that as an excuse. But then if you think about it, why the secrecy in the first place? Why was this ever kept a secret when this was happening for like millennia? It's like, you know, if this hadn't ever been a secret and if everyone was aware of what was going on, and obviously, you know, that has a lot to do with different religious organizations that kind of, you know, forced everything to be hush hush, and then everyone that talked about would be burned at a stake or whatever at one point in history. But it's like, okay, so why? And then they're the ones that are still kind of controlling this narrative, and it's like, why the secrecy? It didn't ever have to be like that. We wouldn't have ever had to have this problem of people freaking out about things if it was just something everyone was aware of this whole time.
It's because you have the huge families, and they can't charge a tax or make money off free energy, and you know, a world where everything is perfect, they can't make their money. They can't have their power and control. So keeping these things secret, you know, helps them sell gasoline and keep people in bondage through taxes and all this other crap they do.
Right. It's like, if we already have
utopia,
technology and all these different types of technology, then why would we be still driving around with gas-powered cars? Like, we could be flying around in spaceships. There would be no traffic. You could, like, you know, take a little flying saucer that fits, like, you know, maybe just you and one other person, have it parked in your driveway, go up, over, come down, land in the spot at the grocery store, go in and get your food, no traffic. And maybe there'd be traffic in the sky. You know, that would probably be hard to deal with. I've thought a lot about that.
Do you know what you just described?
Drones, right?
No, you just described something that came out in the 70s. It was called the Jetsons, and it was a cartoon.
And why aren't we there yet? We should be there. We have the technology. I know this. There's other. Was it Abu, or was it Dubai? They created self-flying drones that, like, a person can sit and be inside, and it's like a self-driving car. If it, you know, that idea scares me, the AI stuff. But actually, when it comes to being in the sky, it makes a lot of sense to me, because, you know, that means that it would kind of like interact with the other, you know, vehicles and not crash into each other if they're all kind of self-driving, they're all on a network, or if there was like some sort of like safety precaution in them to where if you're flying around, you don't accidentally run into each other in the air.
Yeah. I mean, and they're trying to work on that technology. I mean, it'll be cool when it's, you know, all the bugs are fixed and everything. But yeah, I'm not going to be jumping in any of those real soon. Look, I want to say something really quick. I stand corrected. Just so if you all were taking notes when I mentioned these films earlier, I made a snafu. It's childhood's end, not childhood lost. So that was my mistake. So thank you, Abel Cold Sweat. And then the other thing I screwed up on, it's Jupiter ascending, not Jupiter rising. So thank you to Jupiter Love Jam for putting me in my place.
Says that we're still in the Flintstones.
I mean, we kind of are. I mean, in comparison to, like I said, all these other possible beings and civilizations out there, we're like at that corner table in the cafeteria at school, you know, like, yeah, just those are those kids, you know. But I think as time goes on, as you were saying earlier, children now are being indoctrinated with just nothing but UFO and alien stuff, whether or not it's cute, like Gerber, Guru, or whatever Baby Yoda's name is.
Grogu?
And that's what I said. So, yeah, there's so many. I mean, even in comedy, you have Coneheads, and then you have Contact with Jodie Foster, Critters 1, 2, 3, and 4, The Day the Earth Stood Still, all the different versions. I'm just E.T. the Extraterrestrial, of course, Dune. You mentioned that. The Europa Report, Evolution, which was the comedy with David Duchovny. All the Star Wars, all the Marvels. Fifth Element. There's another great one right there.
I almost forgot about that one. You know, my hairstylist here in LA, the one that always does my hair, he's actually he does hair, he designs the hair for a lot of major films, and he actually was the one that designed the hair for Lulu in it.
Oh, very, very cool.
He's the one that always does my hair.
Nice. I mean, look, Flash Gordon, a whole bunch of Flash Gordons. And that went all the way back to the black and whites. I think there was even maybe a silent version of it.
Men in Black.
Men in Black, Will Smith. That was a huge, man, people went ape nuts over that when Men in Black came out. They're like, I told you, they're real. And all those people you thought were crazy were just really, you know, eccentric fans.
I was a little kid when that came out. So,
but those people knew. They knew, they were awake. They knew what I'm telling you tonight and what you're talking about.
Do you think that concept is real? Like, if aliens come in, like, I mean, if someone like in our society runs into an alien, do you think there's actually people that'll come in and erase their memories? Like, do you think that would be a common thing that actually happens?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
So let's just have some fun, because I know everybody here is like, they're all shouting out names left and right in the chat.
Someone said Avatar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And actually, my buddy Brad Martin just finished doing stunts on Avatar 2. They just finished filming parts of it. So
man, they've been filming that forever.
Well, they're using.
It's going to be a wild movie when it comes out.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be crazy. But you know, Attack of the Martians, Galaxy Quest, which is a spoof on Star Trek, you know, and then it becoming a real thing and finding out it's real. Green Lantern, he's from another planet. You have the Blob. Right. Remember the Blob? You know, that wasn't a person. It was just this jelly, you know, that would take you over. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
That one was awesome.
And another Dean Devlin movie, Independence Day 1 and 2, and he is working on 3, by the way. Then you have Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. They had to throw in some alien stuff. Of course, Spielberg said it wasn't his favorite, but I'm sorry, Lucas did. Yeah, Indiana Jones. Interstellar, Invaders from Mars, Invasion this and that, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I mean, you see all the same names too, because those are like triggered words. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I mean, every kind of possibility. They were putting it out there to get us used to the idea. If we couldn't accept it in one realm, okay, I could accept it if it was Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I can believe that. You know, I'm not saying I would, but there are people out there. The Last Starfighter. By the way, they're remaking that film soon. Leroy and Stitch, Life, which Ryan Reynolds, that just came out, where you're talking about where astronauts go into space, but they come back with an alien being that takes over their body. I mean, you have to think, where did these ideas originate from? You know?
Dude, it had to start from somewhere. They want to hide the truth in fiction. I bet a lot of these, you know, writers, they're like, hey, you know, like they're hearing these concepts by, you know, people that are higher up in society that they're probably around a lot. And they're like, you know what? Yeah. I'm just going to like release this in my own way, you know?
Right. And, you know, sometimes you have scenarios like Not saying this exactly what happened, but this scenario. Let's say that Corey Good or one of the guys from the SSP, right? They're telling their story before they became famous. They're telling their story at a party, and somebody there's like really excited, and they tell their buddy about it, and they're telling their story. So it's their version of that story. Now the writers got it, and then boom, there's the idea. That's where it came from. But it came from somewhere, even with imagination. And I'm sure a few people that will talk about, things being downloaded to them, information, knowledge of things. And the only way they can do it is by writing it in the best words they can, of the words of that day. And for people to believe, they got to put fiction on it.
Transformers is one.
Yes.
Those are AI aliens, like cyborg aliens that are coming from these other planets.
But did you see when they go up to before they go up to the moon? Or no, the moon starts at the beginning, but it's the Transformers that has Buzz Aldrin in it, where he makes an appearance and meets Optimus Prime and says, "From one astronaut to another, or spaceman to another." In that movie, they portray the situation that did happen during the Apollo mission, where there was no communication for, I think it was like 12, 15 minutes. And in that movie, they show that event happening, and you see a Men in Black or a suit and tie guy go over and flip the switch to turn off the communications so that the astronauts could go off camera to a location that they landed near, which had this crashed transformer. And that's when they're like, okay, we got to kind of keep it secret up here. But that also came from another video that aired in South America of supposed moon landing, where the astronauts, about 150, 200 yards from their capsule, there was a structure. There was a building with rooms and walls, no roof, but it was all stone structured. It had window openings and doorways, and they walked through this. And some say, "Oh, well, that was Hollywood." See, that's the trigger, and it just gets under my skin when people do that. They hear something and then immediately it's dismissive. No, it's just Hollywood. But they have no proof. They have no evidence.
Where do you think Hollywood is getting these ideas from?
Exactly, because Hollywood is a part of it. They are a huge cog in the machine to keep us, submissive to. Is that the right word, or am I? I don't know, you're laughing, so I guess I got the right word, or it was just
no. I'm just laughing at this comment. Someone said, "What about Godzilla versus Kong, guys?"
Well, actually, hey,
I actually haven't seen that yet. I don't know if there's.
I haven't seen it, so I'm not going to give my critique on it. But here's another movie. It's talking about oversized lizards and everything, but we have been discovering new species left and right every year, some that are massive in size. And we know about radiation, what it does. Look at fish. The Simpsons three-eyed fish. 2 years later, somebody caught a three-eyed fish. It looked just like that cartoon fish next to a nuclear power plant.
Did he have could he see everything? Was it like the three-eyed raven from Game of Thrones, where you could
I don't
see the future in the past?
I mean, in the cartoon or the real fish? Because I didn't talk to the real fish.
The real fish.
But yeah, that's stuff out there that it's being thrown at us as entertainment, as fiction, as comedy. Comedy is another huge tool to do soft disclosure, and comedians know how to do it. That's why they're good at it, because they can take serious things that would be discussed, put a comedic spin on it, and it's being discussed without I'm running out of words here, without resistance. So yeah, your turn. Let me take a second.
Someone mentioned earlier, and this was a while back, I believe it was Isaiah mentioned, they just commented angels. But, a lot of people will say that angels were like supposedly ascended masters or like ETs. So I think that's interesting. I mean, that's not, I guess they're portrayed in movies quite a bit, but, also, I mean, before movies were around, like that was portrayed in the Bible for like millennia. So
Mhm.
that's an interesting concept as well.
And let me take it way back. Aliens and UFOs haven't been around since just films. I
Yeah.
mean, you got the books and everything, but they go all the way back into medieval days to the days of Jesus. Paintings of Mary with baby Jesus, and there's a UFO outside the window. You
Mm.
know what truly was. Let's look at it not just as poof and magic and smoke and mirrors. Let's look at it like a scientific angle. What could have been the Star of Bethlehem if it was moving, right? And directing and then pointing directly on top of the manger where Jesus was.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't think about
A
that either.
UFO. A UFO. Now this is probably going to get me crucified. Okay.
Jesus was an
I
alien.
am a Christian, but I do believe that science and religion combined, can answer a lot of things. This is I'm probably going to get a lot of hate mail for this one, but
No, I
what
agree with you
what
100%.
what if, okay, and all my regulars that have jumped on tonight's show, please forgive me if this upsets you, but it's just a theory, just an opinion, an idea. Okay. What if the great, immaculate, or the birth of Jesus, not, I'm sorry, when Mary met the angel and then next day she woke up, she was pregnant, right? What if she was abducted? She was taken on board a ship and
That makes
they
perfect
and they
sense.
took their alien DNA or their supernatural DNA, whoever they were, and had the CRISPR software before we did and took the genetics of it and put it together and boom, immaculate conception. But he has special gifts and powers and very, very smart and wise, right? So I'll probably get some really horrible hate mail for that. But it's just a thought, because looking at back to Stargate, that was about the Anunnaki coming down and mining our planet of our sources, of our gold, of our large avatar trees, which we had, and now they're petrified stumps that we call plateaus. If you look at them from above, you can see rings in the ground. If you look at Devil's Tower in Wyoming, it's a gigantic tree stump and it has petrified bark that's been breaking off for years, falling into rubble piles. And if you look above, it has your octagon shapes on the top of the tower, which was like the fibers of the tree. Now you have to imagine these trees were huge and they went up miles, sometimes up way up in the atmosphere, but providing more oxygen at a higher level, which also helped the dinosaurs, the really tall ones that had the long necks. The scientists said, well, they wouldn't be able to breathe because the air would be too thin up there, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, but those trees, that's what James Cameron, he knew about that stuff. And so, because he knew about it, he wrote about it and he made it fictional with an amazing love story and action and adventure. But still, the core of Avatar is talking about a society long before us.
Interesting.
Oh, and then Stargate was about them coming down and enslaving us because they didn't want to do all the mining. So they made us to basically be their monkeys to do all the mining. And the Grand Canyon is said now to not be naturally made like that, that the Grand Canyon is actually a long ass mining operation. And,
That's interesting.
ancient astronaut theorists believe.
I love how they always say that. Oh, so I was just, this whole time we were just talking, I was trying to find this author. So when we were mentioning aliens in the Bible, William Henry, if if none of you have heard of him, I definitely recommend checking him out. He writes all these books where he actually, he's like a theological like professor, I believe, where he's like studied it for years, and he actually takes all these parts from the Bible and actually like analyzes them and how they relate to, like, some parts actually like mention stargaze very clearly, and then like also like the chariots in the sky that come down, fiery chariots
Yes.
in the sky, like obviously, I mean, what
Yeah.
else is that,
Yeah.
so
And Journey
recommend his work,
I think
William Henry.
I think Journey, they did their song Wheels in the Sky, Keep on Turning. It was about that as well.
Yeah.
So musicians are really big into it. AWOL Nation. He's got his song Sail. That's about his girlfriend being abducted by a UFO.
Is that really?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
I always love that song. I didn't know that.
And it's all about, this is how I show my love, by, I can't think of all the lyrics, but he's talking about how he pays tribute to her by still looking for her all the time, and then they watch the video. It's awesome.
I didn't see the video before. Oh my God. That just makes me love that song like so much more.
I mean, look at David Bowie, Starman, movie, Starship Troopers, Star Trek, Star everything, Star Wars at the wazoo, even Superman. Superman was an alien. People forget that.
Oh yeah, that's
he came from the planet Krypton.
Marvel movies and all the comic kind of characters, a lot of them have to do with aliens.
Green Lantern came from another planet. Well, not Ryan Reynolds, his predecessor. Thor, Titan AE, which was an animated movie. Tom and Jerry did it. Transformers, UFO stuff. Let's see. Village of the Damned talks about aliens.
There was this one show, I believe it was called the 4200.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's what it was called.
It was a TV series. It was a TV series. Yeah, you can watch it on Netflix.
It was where all these people that had been abducted throughout time, all of a sudden they had disappeared throughout time. The 4400, yeah. They were just like dropped in a lake one day, like a UFO just drops them all in like a lake, and all these people come in and rescue them, and they bring them to this community to like kind of like look over them, like all these government people, and then all these people start like suddenly like having these different powers. They start realizing that they have these different kinds of powers. That was a great one. I loved watching that. I don't know when that series actually came out, but I randomly was going through shows on Netflix and saw it 6 years ago.
Yeah, about within the past 10 years at least, minimum.
That was a great one. I really enjoyed that one.
Now, we cannot talk about all this without talking about the creme de la creme show that changed basically everybody's idea on everything. I mean, it changed my life. It was a little tiny show on Fox. It was called The X-Files. And that right there is your hardest of soft disclosure shows ever, along with Fringe. Fringe later came along. It was kind of cool. But no. And of course, we both know John D'Souza. He was actually the inspiration for the first season of The X-Files. A lot of you didn't know that? I thought... No, yeah, John D'Souza.
People compare him with that, but I didn't think he was actually the real inspiration.
Oh gosh, you got to have him on your show.
I would love to.
John was in the FBI for 25 years, and he was put into the first only X-Files division. It was called the X-Files division, but that's what he did. He did all the paranormal stuff, and it was just him and his partner. And agents are given this diary book called an off the book. It's kind of like, just their personal notes, right? Well, his book was stolen by another agent who was working as a consultant in Hollywood. And he took the OTB book, and got it in the hands of Chris Carter. And Chris Carter took that book and wrote the first episodes of season 1 from John D'Souza's book. And John D'Souza took him to court, and Chris Carter even talks about it in interviews. He says, yeah, it happened. And,
Wow.
the way to pull back, because John D'Souza was about to get in a lot of trouble because his bosses thought he gave the book to Hollywood. And, he wasn't supposed to talk about any of that stuff. So, get, if you don't have his contact, I'll hook you guys up because
I would love that.
You've got to have John on. He's awesome. Someone had mentioned something on here. Where was it? They could start off. Man, someone had something good. It was right when you're talking about the 4400 thing, or was it a movie that I was going to bring up? No. Someone had a really good question. I was going to answer it for him, and now it's gone. I guess they pulled it. Quantum Leap was another good one. Your viewers have got an amazing list right here. The Twilight Zone, Ziggy Stardust. That was it. That was the name of the David. Quantum Leap, Palladium Power. Let's see, what was that? Never heard of that. Let's see. What was the other ones? There's just so many. The list just goes on and on and on and on. So many about different planets. One with Matt Damon, Mars
Attack.
No.
The one where he's a cowboy.
We're gonna science the shit out of this. No, not Mars Cowboy.
No, am I talking about the one where he's a cowboy? Or no, that's with Brad Pitt, right? Where there's one movie I forgot. It was
an alien movie?
John something where he's a cowboy, and then all of a sudden he in the Wild West and he finds this device, and then he ends up on Mars. John something. It's called John.
It's a Disney movie. John Carter.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's pulled through a portal, and he ends up on Mars. And because of his earthly strength with our gravitational pull on the Earth, on Mars you have 1/5. So he had this strength where he had these superpowers. He could jump really, really, really far and everything.
The aliens in that one were really funky.
And that was another movie like Jupiter Ascending, where the government was like, no, Disney, you screwed up. You went too far on this one. It's too close to home. And they suppressed that movie to where it didn't do well in box office.
The other one that ends up on Mars is the The
Martian. Matt Damon.
It's with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Ben and Rob had me watch this when we were in DC. It was so funny. We were watching.
Yeah, you're stumbling, so it's making me stumble. Hold on. It's from
the 80s.
Yeah.
It's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Dude, it's totally hinting at the secret space program.
Total Recall. Yeah,
Recall.
Renee got it. Renee's got it.
At first, I had actually never seen it before, except maybe a little bit of it when I was super young. And they're like, dude, you seriously haven't watched this? So we were all at the Airbnb one night after a rally, and we watched it. At first I was like, what the hell is going on here? This is so confusing. And then it totally alludes to the secret space program, slave people being sent to Mars to be slaves.
Well, here's the thing though. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure, I'm hoping that Total Recall came out, I think, before The Face on Mars appeared and the Pyramids on Mars.
Really?
I think.
I thought there was a comic book that came out way before then that had Pyramids on Mars.
Oh, yeah. There's been a lot of stuff. And people just says, oh, it's all fiction. But then here we go. We find it. Here's another example. Homer Simpson writes out this scientific equation years and years ago on an episode on a chalkboard. And then years later, we find out it's the actual equation for the God particle.
Wait, in what movie?
In The Simpsons, the TV show. Yeah, Homer Simpson writes out this scientific equation, and it's almost like a decade or so before they found out about the God particle, and that was the equation.
Dude, I was so tripped out when I was in DC, and then everyone was saying that Jake, the guy we know, Jake was predicted in The Simpsons.
Yeah.
You know, everyone was like sharing that, but then they said it wasn't true.
Well, all I know is the Simpsons know things, and so does Seth MacFarlane, and they put it in there whether they know it, consciously or subconsciously. They know, and they're implementing it into their media. And as the press secretary would say, as we wrap around back to it,
Circle back.
circle back. As we circle back, yeah, it all comes back together to manipulate the masses and control the narrative and to control us.
Someone said that I should be in a remake of Amazon Women on the Moon, and I have never seen that, but oh my god, I am definitely looking that up after this show because I freaking love Amazon Women, and I've never heard of this. And
Well,
Amazon Women on a Moon,
girl,
so freaking cool.
You need to see Barbarella.
I've seen Barbarella. Wait, how come
you are
mention that? Hold up. I am Barbarella.
You are Barbarella.
You literally, okay, the first time I saw this movie, it was like right when a little after I'd moved to LA, or I don't know, it was like 5 years ago actually. And I'm like, my friends started playing it, but with the sound off. And we were like partying and having a good time, and the sound was off. So I was just like, dude, this is like me. It's like a space chick, you know? I'm like, at the time I was making like alien like rap stuff, and I was like, dude, this is like totally me. And like I was like freaking out, so I started dubbing the movie, and I'd never seen the movie before, and I just dubbed everything she said, and everyone at the party just came and sat around me and like listened like for like an hour. It was so funny. And like, man, I want to be in the remake of that movie so bad. They need to remake that movie and freaking cast me. That is like my number one goal in life.
That I could see that being a reality. I could
Dude,
see totally doing the remake.
I gotta stop talking about it, but this is like, please, like, what? Like, it has to be me. Like, I'm the only person in the UFO community that's like an actor. That's like it just makes sense.
Well, here's what we have to do though. If we do remake Barbarella with you, we have to get. And this is, thank you, Jupiter Love Jam, for this little tidbit of music rock information. Duran Duran actually came from the movie Barbarella. So maybe we should have Duran Duran do the theme song.
That would be so cool.
Yeah. But God, everybody's just popping up all these great movies.
Barbarella is just the best ever.
Yeah, Cloverfield. Remember the Cloverfield trilogy? Cloverfield
I actually
Lane.
haven't seen. I'm not really into scary movies. I don't
No. Just know that you need to, if you do, you need to watch all three because they're three separate movies, but they're connected. Let's leave it at that. Also, everybody was shouting out Total Recall. The one that I thought you were talking about with the cowboy, not John Carter, but was Cowboy versus Aliens with the James Bond guy. And it was kind of.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It really didn't much. It wasn't that great. Battlestar Galactica was another great show, talking about protecting the Earth. Another one, and a cartoon that came out in the '80s, and I've talked about this several times. It was called All Star Blazers. It was a Japanimation cartoon about a old. It's like a fighter ship, but can go underwater as well. Not a regular submarine. It looked like a ship, but it could go underwater as well. And it was called the Yamamoto, and it was able to fly in space, and it protected the Earth, right? And it had, the front of it had a big cannon that would shoot and do all the stuff. Well, that was in the 80s. Okay. I came to the conclusion that cartoon was derived from the USS Eldridge. You remember what ship that was? The Philadelphia Experiment.
Oh, wow.
The ship that disappeared and went back in time and all that.
That's what reminds me of the cigar-shaped crafts that were like.
And that's where we're getting to, sweetie. That's where we're getting to. And I think I'm the only person that's ever really kind of put all this together. But I believe my theory is, Einstein and Tesla were a part of the Philadelphia Experiment. And what was known to the people that weren't in the know was that it was a test to test out new kind of radar deflection capabilities to make them invisible at sea. When in fact, my belief and theory as this ancient astronaut theorist believes, is that what they were doing with all of the generators and diodes and bulbs and everything that were inside, which we see portrayed in the movie, the Philadelphia Experiment, where the two main actors are destroying it because it's stuck in a time loop. I think that what they discovered was that they were trying to levitate this ship, all right? And they had too much power or something, or overdid it, and it literally opened up a portal and the ship disappeared. All the guys on board come back. Half of them are like embedded in the metal of the ship and in the floors, or they're missing, or they're running around crazy. Eyes are bleeding, you know, all this stuff, right? Well, what I theorize is that what they were doing was trying to figure out how to levitate this ship, which was also a submarine. Because if you were to build a spacecraft, what's the most important thing it's got to be? Airtight, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if you don't know how to build something like that yet, but you need something that's airtight, what's the first thing you're going to have in your arsenal? A submarine. So what if you could have this, it travels around the ocean, but then it has these devices, or as we might know now as toroidal energy, that allows a craft to lose its weight and levitate and move around and fly wherever it wants to go. So here we have, later in future, you know, as time progresses, they got these really slick submarines that look like cigars, and they're airtight, but you make the really big ones like in the movie 2012. Did you see 2012?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. So, okay, so you know that big ship that they're on, right? Mm-hmm. It's a gigantic floating submarine. So if you were able to put the toroidal engines with a nuclear or a power plant or whatever to make this function, you now have a cigar secret space program craft, basically. And that's what I believe that the Philadelphia Experiment led to. It was to find out how they could levitate large crafts. Because if you're going to test something and it's really, really expensive, like a ship, you don't want to levitate it and have it drop on the ground. So the perfect spot would be in, you know, the docks in the water. So definitely, that's my theory. That's Doc Skinner's theory on the Philadelphia Experiment.
Very plausible.
And
you know, when you mentioned Yamamoto, that reminds me of my favorite anime series, which actually alludes to aliens too, and that is Sailor Moon.
Oh yeah,
I love anime. I have a thing for anime chicks, I'm not gonna lie, and Sailor Moon is my favorite. And yeah, there's like a lot of like parts where you know, they go to these different planets, and there is like these you know, like space people that will come from other planets, and most of it's like in like Crystal Tokyo in the future, but then there's like
dystopia.
You know, yeah, but then there's like these beings that come from other planets and things like that too. So that's interesting.
Did you see the classic Akira?
No.
Oh.
Is that a hot anime show?
Back in the 80s. Yeah, it's still hot. And it's so hot. I know you're in Hollywood, but I've got some deep dish Hollywood info. You want something? TMZ don't have this stuff.
Sure.
For those people that love Akira, know what I'm talking about. Look it up, check it out. Make sure you got surround sound on. It's awesome. But and now I don't want to say too much about it, but it was back in the 80s and it was supposed to be made into a feature film for years. I can say this. Leonardo DiCaprio's production company's working on it right now. Shh.
What was it? Is it Kira a space anime?
No, it's a dystopia, but it's like this alien species that is incorporated into the film. I'm trying to think how not to give anything away, but it, for me, back in high school, not knowing much, I had to watch it twice. And then as I grew older and I went back and watched it, I'm like, oh my God, they were really onto something. And that's what it's all about. That's what I mean. That's what the whole episode tonight's about, is how we see things and then they become a reality. Because if we can dream it, we can do it. That's the cool thing about humans. If we dream it, we can do it. So
Definitely.
yeah. But I hope people now start paying a lot more attention to the films and the media and the stories that they hear. Even the news now with the TikToks and people fessing up, going, "Oh yeah, we've been investigating them for all these years. Yeah, we lied." Start taking all that into account, and then think back on your history. I know it's hard to think past last week for most people, but do that and look back and go, "Wow, this stuff was out way back then. I remember seeing this, and now it's selling on Black Friday at Walmart." So yeah, I hope people now that are watching this will see entertainment a little differently, from a different perspective,
Definitely.
and have a better grasp of what it is they're truly being subjected to. Not that it's all bad. I mean, it's great entertainment, but what is it doing to the psyche?
Well, it's all propaganda. Everything in
Right.
Hollywood is propaganda. So it's like the way that what we're being subjected to in regards to ETs and the way they want to push disclosure is very interesting. Just watch and after talking with you throughout the show, I've realized that almost every movie has ETs in it now. I mean, like
Mhm.
it is like everything that's coming out these days. Like I didn't even think of like the Marvel series and like those different shows. I mean, literally everything. Everything that's coming
Everything.
out. And that's how you just know they're trying to get
Look
people
and
to
look at Disney. Look at their Disney Plus channel or network. It's almost 50% alien, sci-fi, fantasy, make believe, that stuff that people are going, yeah, that could be real, or it is real already. And they are pushing it. They're pushing it hard. And it's for this younger generation, to get them ready. I think I'm hoping, I would like to think that before I came to this planet, I signed up for this big event, and damn it, I better be here when it happens. Because
what ET's coming down, but not the
when
false flag one.
when all the curtain is dropped and everything is revealed, that is what I'm hoping that I stick around for. Because I'm
And
going to
all
go,
of us that are in the UFO community are right at the beginning of that whole movement. Yeah,
right?
we'll all be the ones that are like, told you so.
Yeah. Big old shit.
And then everyone else is gonna be like,
yeah, their heads are going to pop. And because it can be too much for a lot of people. And I think that's why a lot of people like, it's not real, because they just can't.
Someone says that won't happen, Doc.
What?
Get out of here.
What won't happen?
Someone says that won't happen. There won't be the curtain falling event.
Oh, well, a boy can dream.
Get out of here. We're already there.
Right.
I mean, they straight up are already saying in mainstream media, like, hey, we've been seeing all these UFOs like everywhere. So, yeah. I mean, pretty much.
But it's people like you and me that, and Third Phase of Moon and others, Rick Mackey, who's on here, and several others. We're facilitating that, and that's pretty cool. In my
I didn't
book.
Look at it that way before. We're like facilitators. That's interesting.
We are giving the people another option than what's being force fed to them through mainstream. So that's why I still do what I do, no matter what craziness happens. I still do it because, well, damn it, it's what we're meant to do. What you and me and the boys at Third Phase, Robin Bett, everybody, Brooks Agnew, Laura Eisenhower, we are here to facilitate that other option of truth that people are suppressed from seeing.
And I feel like all these people you just mentioned are really going to go down in history in the future. People aren't thinking about that right now, but it's the pioneers, the ones that are at the beginning of movements. Like a lot of times they're kind of made fun of at first, but
right.
Once it's proven, it's like, okay, they were at the beginning of that.
Yeah. And just in recent years, news reporters have made comments Like when the Tic Tac thing came out, they're like, well, shoot, those guys with the, signs saying, UFOs are real. They were right. They cannot not admit to it now. And a lot of them feel really stupid because they've been facilitating the lie and the agenda for all these years, when the rest of us have been trying to tell everybody. But, yeah, it's entertainment is an interesting thing, and it is a tool used on the masses, not just entertain. So, yeah, when you're watching these shows, or you're watching these movies, look at it from this perspective instead of what they're just giving you.
Definitely. So, well, I'm going to wrap this up here. Did you have any final words, Doc?
Oh my God, we've been talking for 1 hour and 45 minutes. Yeah. That was a good show. That was a great show.
Yeah, no, it was super interesting. I loved having you on. I'm glad you decided to come on, because it would have just been me like rambling about these different movies. So if for everyone out there, Doc, I actually posted about doing the show today, and Doc commented was like, hey, I would love to talk with you about all this. So I'm like, oh, you'd be perfect. I'll get you on. So yeah, it was really fun. I enjoyed it. I'll have to have you on again sometime of just your own episode. So.
Oh yeah, and you on mine as well. I'll be getting back to my show here soon. I'm just really focusing on UFO Report and Third Phase right now, but I should be getting back to 1028 Productions YouTube site here soon. Just renovating, you might say. So
yeah, I've been renovating with my studio as well. So I like to, once I get the new studio set up again, I'd love to have you on there. So
awesome. And we're gonna have you here in October, right? 2nd and 3rd, Disclosure Con.
Oh yeah, Disclosure Con.
That's right. At the Pine Top, the Honda Casino Resort in Pine Top, Arizona, October 2nd and 3rd. And we're gonna have some great speakers and authors and artists, and possibly a tattoo booth again. That was a lot of fun last time. Yeah, we actually had two seats.
I didn't see that last time.
Well, it was there's two sides on each. There's the main entrance into the not Coliseum, but the auditorium, and then there's two side hallways as well. And we had vendors along the hallways as well. But this tattoo parlor, they're like, yeah, we want to come set up. And I'm like, at a UFO convention, I'm like, well, and then they gave me the money. I'm like, well, welcome. Here's your spot, And every time I walked by, they had a line of people and someone in the chair, in both chairs at all times. So
they're getting real tattoos
for the rest
of their lives on their skin. Yes. That's crazy.
So I had this idea. Apolla, tell me what you think of this. Anybody that comes to Disclosure Con and they get the little alien icon guy from Disclosure Con, and it says Disclosure Con somewhere on you, where it can be shown to the public. And you get that at Disclosure Con, and we interview you while it's getting done with that tattoo. Only, like I said, only done if it's done at Disclosure Con, no other tattoo shop. You are a VIP member to Disclosure Con for life. You get to come every year. You get your golden ticket. You get VIP passes. You get to go to the parties, the fireside chat, the meals, everything for life, because you were advertising for life. So that's the least I can do. So that's a little fun thing. And then thinking about doing like a golden ticket where it's not going to be a cheap price. It's, but for a certain price, you will get a brass plate VIP pass that will have your serial number and your name on it, and you have to show your ID when you come in. But that's like, you can purchase a lifetime pass, basically a VIP pass. So I'm still working on that. And it will be the 3rd Disclosure Con. So it will be Disclosure Con 3D. And there'll be something 3D involved. We'll just say that.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to be there. I had an amazing time at the last event, and wow, it really opened a lot of doors in my life, and I enjoyed it so much. So I'm definitely stoked to be back at that one.
Yeah, and we're gonna have some new people this year. Last year we were gonna do the Travis Walton 35th or 45th anniversary, but COVID. So yeah, so this year it's going to be interesting. Mike Barra from Ancient Aliens is on board. He's coming. Yep. Of course, Blake and Brent Cousins from Third Phase of Moon. They will be here, and Jim Goodall. He will be here as well. That's Bob Lazar's best friend, and he's also the foremost expert on spy planes on the planet. That was the head of Skunkworks said that. And Elon Musk has got his books on his desk in his office at SpaceX. So he's a pretty cool guy. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm actually interviewing him next week, by the way.
Thursday.
Everyone make sure you tune in to this show on Thursday, and I'm going to have him on. So
yeah, because if you're into the Bob Lazar story, you want to listen to Jim, because Jim and Bob were best friends. I mean, still. And
he sent me his book, the Skunkworks.
Did you get it?
Book. Yeah, and he just happened to send it to me right before I took off for Area 51 over the summer. And like I'm reading that book, and it shows all the spy planes like lined up on the airstrip at Area 51, and I'm like, dude, this is crazy. And then that was like from like the 60s or 50s or something, and I'm like, dude, I wonder what they have there now.
He is one of the few people that has been able to cross the border at Area 51 with someone else he was with. And
he just tried telling me he wanted me to do that with him. I was like, yeah, that's okay.
He's like one of the only people I've ever known that could cross over into Area 51 walking along one of the sides. And all, military forces come, gunpoint and all this stuff, and then they call in his name and they're like, let him go, it's Jim. So that's why I feel safe about going on the Area 51 trip with him, So.
Did he go before then? Like, was he actually allowed in before that happened?
Well, no, he wasn't in. He was crossing. He actually wasn't even crossing the line. It was the security guards, puffing up and, just trying to keep him at a further distance. But he and his buddy had the map and like, nope, we're right here. This is public land. So kiss our ass.
Did he go there to take those photos, or was that he got those photos for his book?
Yeah, he goes and takes those photos, and he has his new book, which when you said you got it, I thought you meant his new one that just came out this month. I don't have
the newest one.
It's the 75th anniversary of Skunkworks, and Skunkworks is the company that does Area 51. They're the people in charge of Area 51, of all the planes and stuff. So
awesome. We'll do promo for my show later this week. Thanks for that.
So definitely he's a sweetheart. He's just one of my best friends. I just love him. He's a great guy. So you have a great show with him. But I do appreciate you bunches. Love you dearly. Thank you so much for having me on.
Much love to you as well, Doc. It was great having you on here.
Excellent.
All right, everyone. Also, make sure you all check out a little series me and Doc we're both on a UFO report show that's on Amazon right now, I believe.
Well, UFO, yes. There's a UFO Report. That is a 5-season series on Amazon Prime, and it's free if you have a Prime membership. And then we also have the new movie Countdown to Disclosure, which Jim is in. Jim Goodall, he's talking to Bob Lazar on the phone in the film. And Dr. Stephen Greer is in there as well as Dr. Sala. And it's from interviews that we did during COVID, and they put it all together. And, the Cousins brothers are just, there's nothing they can't do. And they whipped this thing together during COVID, stuck in their home in Hawaii, directing us from far away to do all these interviews and whatnot.
Thanks for getting me in on that too, by the way. That was so fun.
Oh, man. In the famous words of the late, great Carrie Carpenter, Apolla, we've only just begun. So yeah. What was I saying? I said that.
They got us all on during COVID.
Oh yes. So they put this movie, and it is number 3 on documentaries on Amazon Prime. That says a lot.
That's
right there.
Wild.
Because it's not the stuff that you hear in all these other ancient UFOs and all this other stuff. That's Roswell and the Ketzler.
Yeah, they're going a little deeper. That's what bothers me about all those shows, like the Ancient Aliens show, and
it's residual.
They're always like it's like I always like to joke it's like they're just putting the tip in. I don't know how else to say it. Sorry, I don't know how else to say it. It bothers me.
I had to swallow.
Just get a little deeper than that, okay?
Right.
Like at least a little bit. I mean, come on.
It's like an elevator pitch to the idea of what they want to talk about, but without
Yeah.
ever getting to it, because yeah, I'm just not really impressed with how they do it. I feel like we're stuck in middle. What's not junior, like junior high. Okay. We're stuck in junior high and we're taking the same courses over and 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 over again. And it's like, I want something new. Give me some subs. I have a doctorate in this shit. I'm not a sophomore anymore, And that's what Countdown to Disclosure is. It is all new stuff breaking. I mean, it's been out for a month now, but it's the newest stuff you're going to find in any film, without regurgitating old rhetoric that we've heard over and over again. Okay. So there's a reason why it's number 3 on Amazon Prime. So go check it out. It's $49.99 to rent, but you're going to want to pay the $9.99 because you're going to watch it multiple times. I guarantee it. And you're going to share it with your friends. So that's the route to go, I would suggest, with that. And then we also have our new sister channel from Third Phase of the Moon, which is called Third Phase UFO Report. And that is basically for us panelists to rehash old footage, because so much has been coming out. I mean,
how come I haven't been on it? Everyone keeps asking me on like Instagram and stuff. All these fans, they're like, "Yo, where you been?" So,
yeah, well,
like,
call them up.
You gotta hit me up.
Totally. Well, you've also been busy. You're doing
I've been
like
super
40
busy.
projects and
it's
building studios. So
next week I would definitely love to get back in on that once.
Just call the boys
together. Yeah,
call the boys and say, "Give me something." But actually, all you really have to do is go through the extensive library and just find something that you want to discuss, an old UFO video or whatever, and pop out 20 minutes of it, 30 minutes. Really? And call the boys.
To you or them?
Well, it's okay. So the guys have got Third Phase of the Moon. That's their YouTube channel. And they have given us, the panelists, Third Phase UFO Report, so that we can upload our own episodes there. See what I'm saying?
Oh, wow.
And you can still promote Apolla's Odyssey. Yeah, you still promote Apolla's Odyssey. It's just a recap show. So it's not interviews or anything like that. You're just, I'll send you a link and you can watch some of the ones we've done, get an idea. But call the boys and make it happen.
All right, definitely doing that. Everyone keeps missing me. Everyone's like, "Oh, where'd you go? You're not."
I know they're always. Where's the girl? They're like, "Where's the redhead with the gloves?"
By the way, everyone saying all this stuff about the gloves got me inspired to make my own fashion line of gloves that are like space chick gloves. So I'm super excited about that. That's a project that's coming out. Nice. But okay, we keep saying we're going to end this and we never do. So I have so much fun talking with you as always, Doc. So let's do another one of these soon.
Yes.
So absolutely. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Apolla's Odyssey. And just a reminder, I have one shaman spear left. So if you want to purchase my last spear, go to www.shamanspears.com right at the bottom of the screen here. And check that out. And the new collection should be coming out pretty soon here. So until next time, everyone, make sure you tune in Tuesday. I'm going to have Laura Eisenhower on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific.
She's awesome.
Maybe later. Yeah. All right. Bye, guys. Bye, Doc.
Bye, everybody. Bye.